Welcome, everybody. It's Rock Talk with the DocRocker. I'm Jeff Bonalmo, joined once again in the Zoomiverse with the DocRocker, and we have a special guest tonight. We're going to talk about doom metal, and we have the voice of doom metal with us here in the Zoomiverse, Mr. Robert Lowe. Now, if you don't know much about Robert Lowe, you don't know much about doom metal, you're going to learn a lot tonight. If you hung out with me from anywhere around 1992 on, chances are you heard this guy's voice. Blaring from my stereo in my car, backyard party in my house, the vocalist for Solitude Aeturnus, Candlemass, Tyrant Grief Collector, many other projects. He joins us. Welcome to the Rock Talk with DocRocker, Mr. Robert Lowe. Hello, how are you doing tonight, buddy?
Hey, how's it going, guys? How you doing on this fine Friday?
We're doing all right. You're coming to us from Texas, I believe.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, so it's probably a little bit warmer there. It's starting to get cool here. Up here in northeastern Pennsylvania right now, so I'm not too happy about saying goodbye.
It's typical Texas heat right now.
Yeah, well,
we hitting 100 every day.
But this is perfect doom metal weather. I'll tell you that. When autumn comes, man, I just have to crank up some doom metal. I really do, and I've been listening to a lot of stuff preparing for this conversation tonight. So let's start. Let's start from the beginning. Like, let's go all the way back. What motivated you to get into music, like especially metal? Like, what was young Robert Lowe listening to back in the 80s?
Back in the 80s, hell, I started getting into music when I was 5, when I had to go take piano lessons, and that's when it fucking started. Back in the 80s, I started. When did I start playing? I started playing guitar when I was 11.
I may have made you younger than you actually are. So, because that's what I was saying. Like, me, it would be the 80s. So maybe even go back even further. Like, yeah, what got you started?
No, I actually. When did I start playing guitar? I really started playing guitar about the early 80s, pretty much. Mm-hmm. And what got me started? I don't know, man. Was always in music. I think, honestly, I think it was Cheap Trick. Debut album, 78, I think it was, 77, 78. Mm-hmm. And that said, Kiss, Cheap Trick, buddy mine, my neighbor, his dad had the Master of Reality. I said, hey man, can I fucking borrow this? I don't think I said fuck, but can I borrow this? And I took it home, and 2 or 3 weeks later, he's like, my dad wants his album back. I'm like, oh man. All right, here you go. So yeah, basically that's what started it, man. That's what I started with listening to. My very first album, my parents bought, late 70s. Again, I was still 7, 8 years old. Fuck, I don't know. Alice Cooper Goes to Hell. That was my first album.
Well, I'm seeing a theme here, especially with Alice Cooper and, Sabbath. Like, when I first heard Master of Reality, like, I was hooked. Like, that Sabbath was my favorite band growing up, like, in the 80s and stuff. Like, I gravitated to Sabbath and Maiden and stuff like that, like the heavier, darker stuff immediately, from when I was really young. I didn't, and until I discovered, Solitude Aeturnus, like, I didn't even know doom metal existed. I just thought everything came from Sabbath, which, in a way, it kind of did, I guess.
Well, it did, yeah, but Cooper wasn't dark, but there's a dark vein to it, and
yeah,
like I used to go and raid my mom's album. I remember one of the albums I used to have in my bedroom all the time when I was, I was probably 7 years old, was the Jimi Hendrix Experience.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. So, I started as a fucking toddler pretty much.
Yeah. And it sounds like you've had like a really early exposure to a lot of really diverse genres of rock.
I did. My parents were into music, and, parents, the Beatles,
Sure.
Jimi Hendrix, Paul Revere and the Raiders, Trogs, everything. I had access to everything from the get-go.
So you grew up with music around you, basically, like all different styles of music, which is kind of.
Oh, for sure. Yeah. And, like I said, when I was 5, they got me into piano lessons. So, classical, the Baroque era is like one of my favorites of all, everything. I listen to everything.
That's
except
funny
for
you
rap.
should say that because there are so often so many parallels. Because I'm a classically trained pianist myself, so and
See, there you
it's
go.
and
Like,
I'm a big metalhead.
I mean,
There's
Bach,
so many
Handel,
parallels between
you
Bach and
know,
metal. It's insane.
and Handel and who else? See, even some Mozart that started getting into more of the Renaissance area. But Baroque is where I'm focused. Kind of like if you want to break down the classical music genres, Baroque seems to be that fits more in the doom metal genre, whereas the Renaissance
Perfectly.
stuff gets a little more floaty, like Tchaikovsky and stuff like
Yeah,
that.
like the more romantic things, not
Yeah.
so much have their place in metal. But yeah, that more old school stuff. Especially the German stuff. Like you mentioned, a lot of those composers are German, and there's just such a strong tradition in that German Baroque music. It's really cool. It's funny enough. You could draw parallels with it to like jazz, and then there's a whole other vein of it that you could draw so many parallels to different genres of metal, and I've always found that fascinating.
Oh yeah, it definitely is. It has its place out there. That's why it's always there and never going to go away. Like, certain genres of pop or new wave or this, that, it comes and goes. Metal has been from the get-go. Even back, like with Paul Revere and the Raiders, they couldn't do what we're doing because they just didn't have the technology. If they would have had the technology, they probably would have been doing what we're doing now.
Oh, so true, so true. And I agree completely with both of you saying that there's metal just takes from all these different different types of music and kind of molds it together. I've always said, even when I was younger, you could hear these classical type of things going on in a lot of the metal that I liked. You go back to Deep Purple and even Priest and Maiden and stuff. It's all there, which is, you don't find that in other forms of music.
No, you don't.
Definitely not.
Especially with like a lot of the early Priests. The breakdowns with the classical and the interludes, and they have many different pieces that are put together, just like classical music is put together.
It's like a Beethoven symphony. It's the same thing.
When I first introduced Danton to your music, Rob, I think the first thing I gave him was Through the Darkest Hour, and if I remember correctly, Danton was picking up on these little things that traced it back to something a little bit more. And I think were you just saying about your classical background, that kind of explains it.
Yeah, that perfectly explains it. Because, like I said earlier, before we started the episode, I just recently got exposed to a lot of your music. And needless to say, naturally, I was very, very impressed by a lot of it, by your vocal technique, by the overall structure and arranging of the songs on, at that point, all three of the albums that I went through. So we started with Through the Darkest Hour. Then we went, I think we went backwards, right?
Yeah.
In the Depths of Sorrow. Yeah. So, and just it was pretty much a rinse repeat experience each time. Like, all right, let's check out this thing I've never heard. Ooh, this is really cool. It's just kind of like break. Nice. And we always do this little homework segment where we do album reviews every week, and so we'll probably find those and talk about what we said about the albums and stuff. But yeah, no, it's fantastic music, and not just with you, but with the band itself. The way the guitars are arranged together, you could definitely draw a lot of those parallels to classical, to other metal genres. I know it goes so often said that that Sabbath is such a big influence for a lot of the doom acts of the 90s, and it was no surprise when you mentioned like Master of Reality as one of your earliest influences. That comes to me as no surprise at all.
Well, and I think that a lot of this stuff that Solitude, the guys all being of basically the same age, we all had our parents, we all had a background in music from one way or another, and we were, as children, were exposed already to their music, and we just wanted to take, I guess, what we got growing up and just make it a little bit heavier. Make it, I love this, but if we did this to it, it would just fucking turn it. It just amps it up a little bit.
Yeah. Let's just drop the tuning a little bit. Let's do a slower tempo. Let's play with some of these different parameters and craft and cultivate this really, really cool new metal sound that's never been tried before, and that was something Jeff and I were talking about before you joined us. Like how just at that time period, there was like nothing that you can find that sounded like Solitude Aeturnus.
Yeah, I guess not. When I think back on it, it was just something I did. But, now with past, it's like there wasn't anything like that out there. Not really.
Yeah, I mean, the only thing was Candlemass I could think of off the top of my head that predated your sound in Solitude Aeturnus really only by a couple years.
Yeah, well, you know, them and Trouble. Like I said, you were
Trouble.
hard pressed to find anything like that. We, you know, as Candlemass, as Trouble, I every time I do interviews, my brain goes fucking blank.
Caius would,
You know, and as soon as we hang up, I'm gonna go, fuck, I wish I would have said that. But
Pentagram. There's not many, you know.
yeah, no, there's not. So
do-
we kind of had to invent our own thing. We had to invent our own sound. It's like, this is what we want. You know, how are we gonna do it?
Well,
Yeah,
let me tell this. Let me tell this real quick story about how I found Solitude Aeturnus. It was when I was in college. I was DJing, and you know, every month you get in this this CD with all different bands and stuff on a little sampler, and it was all a bunch of junk bands in 1991. You know, there was this big shift in music right around there.
Yeah,
That was 1992 because it was Black Castle was on it, and I heard this. And I'm like, oh my God, that was it. So, and it was an alternative radio station at college. I wasn't allowed to play it, but I played it anyway. Yeah.
Well, you know what? That's what happened to me when I got, I think it was Metal Massacre 4, which came out, what, 83, 84? My dates are going to be wrong because I always get stupid when the camera comes on. And, you know, listen to the whole thing. You know, the early 80s metal, that sound. And like on the last side of that Metal Massacre, it was Trouble and Last Judgment. You know, I'd already listened to the whole album, flip it over, and all of a sudden I just went, God damn, what the hell is that?
Yeah, Trouble's a band you need to check out. They predate all this. They were one of the first ones, and they have that sound. They have a really, really great sound.
Who's that?
Trouble. Yeah, I was telling Danton.
Never heard of them.
The other band, yeah, he has to check out. Because I haven't really introduced him to Trouble yet. He heard Solitude, he heard Candlemass, some stoner rock I threw at him and stuff.
Starting to get my feet wet in Doom. So Trouble is kind of considered part of like the Doom.
I would go with the first one, and definitely the Skull is my favorite. Hands down.
The Skull.
Okay.
Is my hands down, front to back. There's no filler material. You don't skip the needle. Yeah, the Skull.
You get to start to finish the whole album every time.
For you, buddy, right there.
Yeah, I plan to check it out. That sounds great.
Oh wait, speaking of, as we're talking to Trouble, I wanted to give a moment of, you know, for Eric Wagner.
That's right.
Yeah, and they just played here, like the week before it happened. They blew through Dallas and I think it was San Antonio or Houston, and then you know it was a few days later. I saw his little post. They were in South Carolina, North Carolina. And he's like, we're going to have to cancel the tour, you know, with all this COVID shit going on. And then bam. So, yeah.
What happened?
That was Eric Wagner, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
Eric Wagner, from the singer from Trouble and the Skull, he passed away not too long ago.
Oh, I'm sorry to hear that. I had no idea.
Yeah, a few weeks ago. You know, it's
Jesus.
Was it tragedy. COVID? It's definitely a loss to the metal world. But anyway, I just wanted to give my condolences, my, you know, respect, since
Absolutely.
we were talking about Trouble. So anyway, you know,
well,
there's my piece. I'm not good at that kind of stuff either.
That's right.
The sentiment is definitely appreciated. Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah, I should have mentioned that. Sorry. I it just slipped my mind when you mentioned Trouble. Yeah, he passed away, been hospitalized for COVID-19. So unfortunately, this COVID.
Jesus. It's a nightmare. It really is.
So let's go back to let's talk happier times. Solitude Aeturnus, right around 1990-91.
Taking inspiration from Trouble. Yeah, how did it all come to fruition?
Well, yeah, definitely. We did.
Well, how did you get involved with it? I know you weren't the original singer, so how did this come about?
How did this come about? Well, I'll try to make a long story short. Probably about, I don't know, 16, 17 years old. Met Lyle at, I think we were at a Channel 3 show, some punk show in Dallas. And I was in the parking lot with a bottle of cherry vodka. My buddy comes out, you know, I shouldn't have had it. I was underage. So, you know, I don't condone underage drinking. So I thought it was water. I didn't know, you know, with cherry flavored. I had no clue. So a buddy of mine brings me up and goes, hey man, I want you to meet my Aunt Lyle. He's a drummer. Cause at that time I was already playing guitar, and I was like, you know, hey, how you doing? I don't know, you know, things come to pass. We started a punk band called The Holy. We did a lot of shows in Dallas. We had to sneak in to play because we were underage, but we still got on stage and played with a lot of the big punk bands of that day. You know, I think played with Husker Du, Channel 3, Bad Brains. Did that, and eventually that evolved into mine and Lowe's second project, which was Graven Image, and that was more. That's where the doom metal really started with me, was taking off. And I played guitar and sang at that time, and you know, me and him were writing the material because he was the drummer, but he also started playing bass. So we would sit in our rooms and just come up with some of the weirdest, because we were listening to Merciful Fate at the time. So our stuff was kind of a mix of Merciful Fate and Black Sabbath is what we had going on then. And we used to cover Black Funeral. So we did that for a while. And then Lyle says, Derek, he goes to college. I go my way. You know, 6 months to a year passed. He calls me up. He goes, hey, man, you know, I know we're not doing the Graven Image stuff anymore, but he goes, I met this dude, you know, at UTA, and he's got a band, or he's starting a band. And he goes, their singer is thinking about quitting. And he goes, you want to come sing? I was like, well, so I don't know, man. I play guitar. I'm not a vocalist. You know, I'll come out and see what it's all about. But you know me, I'm a guitarist. He's like, well, just come on out, man. We've already got 2 guitars. You know, we're set. We just need a vocalist. I went, all right. And went out there and played one Saturday. You know, went through about 3 cases of beer, and next thing you know, we're in the studio with the first album.
Great.
That just blows my mind that you didn't even like fancy yourself a singer. And here
I didn't want to do it. I kept telling
amazing.
myself, look, I'm not a vocalist.
I can't believe that.
But that's kind of what happened.
You know, that's you kind of echo another excellent vocalist. I just got done reading his book. Ronnie James Dio says the same thing.
Oh, does he?
Yeah, in his book, I was reading his book, and I just got done with the biography. If you get a chance to read it, it's fantastic. I actually didn't even read it. It was an audio book. Driving to work every day, I listened to it.
Sure.
But yeah, Dio was saying the same thing. He's like, you know, I didn't even want to do this. You know, he's like, you know, then he just kind of got tossed into it. You know, we can talk about that a little bit too. You've done several covers of Dio and Black Sabbath songs, so I assume you're a big Dio fan. I mean,
let's see. Again, brain don't work. Dio was another huge influence. You know, after the Heaven and Hell album, you know, I bought that, and then, you know, he left, and I'm like, you know, you hear on the radio, it's like Dio coming out, and I was like, and then I heard Rainbow in the Dark, and I was like, holy shit, that's
nice.
Shit, you know. I remember buying that. I think it stayed on my turntable for 3 weeks without coming off.
That doesn't surprise me at all. That album is fantastic.
I mean, even the musicians, just the whole package, you know, all the musicians. You can name them, Vivian Campbell,
guitar player,
you know, Appice, you know, you just had stellar musicians around him. So it was a solid package. And coming out after Sabbath, I mean, I think he just fucking took off, you know?
Yeah, he pretty much propelled himself to rock stardom there at that point.
Yeah, if you guys get a chance, read the book. It is fantastic. And I do have to say, the cover of Voodoo on Grief Collector. Wow.
Oh, yeah, you like that?
Oh, I loved it. Oh, it was awesome. That was part of one of our album reviews a couple weeks back. Where like I always get I'm a really big Dio fan, and I always get a little nervous when there's like a cover of something on some other band's album. I'm like, oh, is it going to be like a hit or miss thing? You know, kind of like the Kill Switch version of Holy Diver, which I actually really like that one. I like Howard Jones a lot, and I think the things that they do differently than the source material is merited and justified. But it was funny, I was listening to the album, and I went through all of End Delirium, and I got to the end of it, and then I heard the first couple notes of Voodoo come on, because I wasn't looking at my phone. I was just listening. I was like, wait a second. Then I looked, and then I saw it was Voodoo, and I was like, all right, I'm gonna hold my breath and see what happens. And sure enough, it was a knockout. It's like almost note to note. It's like you just totally capture Dio's character and his sound and his tone, and it's awesome. And I loved every minute of it. I thought it was fantastic.
Thank you, man. Well,
I heard you've done other covers
Brad
too.
And Matt tore it up too, because when they approached me with that doing Voodoo, I was like, well, to be honest, that's one of my least favorite off of that album. I was like, okay, well, we could do. It's like, yeah, it is. I'll be honest, but I mean, it's not like I don't listen to it. Don't get me wrong, but they approached me, and then I was like, yeah, fuck, why not, man? And then they gave me the tracks, or I got into the studio, and they put the tracks on. I'm just like, holy fuck! I mean, Brad and Matt nailed it too, because when it starts, I'm just like, they already got it, man. Let's go. Record. Fuck, let's do it.
Yeah, that's awesome. Yeah, it was a really nice surprise at the end of the album. That's for sure for me.
Yeah, the little interlude of Die Young in the middle of that. I like that.
Love that.
But we did Holy Diver too. Well, Concept of God. That's another one you need to check out. Is Concept of God.
Oh yeah, I have Concept of God. I have the album. The first track that opens it up. It's Past Perfect or something.
Past Perfect, yeah.
Yeah. Oh my God, I pulling that out of my head.
Is that Grief Collector?
Oh my God, I think I ordered that from Steve from the guitar player. I think I ordered it direct. I ordered it directly from somebody because I couldn't get it here in Pennsylvania.
No, you probably got it from Mosley at that time.
Yeah, probably.
When it first came out, we went through Massacre, but we got our own distribution, which that was a mistake. We got a garage full of boxes of shit. It's like, well, here we go. I hope they don't melt,
Oh Jesus.
But yeah, you probably got it from Steve. But yeah, that's another eclectic album.
That is a great album. Concept of God. Yeah, you did. Last Chapter was another one I got early on when you did. That was way back. Yeah. So I was a crazy fan of yours from a long time ago, man. I got almost everything you've done. And I'm gonna go back to Solitude because I do have a couple more questions about that.
Yeah, no, we just kind of going off on a fucking tangent because
that's the whole nature of this show. That's what we love to do. We just like to have fun.
I actually interviewed, I believe it was I want to say it was John Perez. Way back when I wrote for a website called Electric Basement. This was back when I think Downfall was out, or Adagio. I don't remember. It was in the late 90s. So you did Depths of Sorrow, Crimson Horizon, Through the Darkest Hour, Downfall, Adagio, bunch of albums that were like 2 years apart, and then nothing.
And then 50 years later.
Yeah, so what happened?
Nothing really. But I'll just use the throw the net out there. It's like, I mean, life happened. I ended up getting married, had a couple kids, moved, bought a house, blah blah blah. Steve went off, he got married. John was doing his thing, and we had material sitting around. And honestly, it was just like a year went by. Hey man, we should hook up. Yeah, still got the rehearsal studio. All right, cool, man. Well, maybe next weekend. All right, bam, another year goes by. Hey man, go have a couple of beers and it's like I got material, he's got material, I've got a book full of lyrics. It just took all that time for things to just finally get together, man. And I think it was worth it because that's one of my personal favorites.
Alone?
Yeah.
That was the last one that Solitude Aeturnus released.
Yeah, and that one I haven't heard yet. I haven't listened.
Yeah, that one's really good.
Yeah, it's solid. It's
going on my queue.
Yeah.
Through the Darkest Hour is still my favorite. It's my personal favorite because it's not only that the songs are fantastic on it, but it's just like anything with music, man. You look back at it and you see like a certain time in your life, and that was a great time in my life, 1994. Through the Darkest Hour, it was just like perfect.
Well, you know what? It's funny you said, because Through the Darkest Hour was also a pivotal point for me too. Because that's when I decided, you know what? Fuck this. I'm going to quit trying to sound like an 80s metal singer. Because, the first two albums, like, stay up there in that higher range, the higher pitch. Because, see, there you go. Case in point. I'm not a vocalist. I didn't know what to fucking do, so I just sounded like other metal singers of the time, you know. My only reference were 80s metal singers, so that's kind of where I was. When that album came along, it's like, I'm not doing this anymore. I found myself, you know. And it's like you could see between the first two and then Through the Darkest Hour, that's when it hits the brick wall, and you could see the change. And so Through the Darkest Hour is also, well, I said they're all my favorite. You know, because then when I think about Through the Darkest Hour, then I go, oh shit, there's some stuff on Downfall that's fucking good. Then I go, wait, Alone has some one or two good ones on there, or Adagio. I think it had one good one. All of them were good. Fuck, you know.
I'm glad you're proud of your work, and you're not saying anything's like, oh, we weren't into it back there, or whatever. And there's not an album in the Solitude Aeturnus discography that I think is terrible at all. I think Downfall has a couple problems with the mix. I know I've talked about.
No. That's a long. Well, it's not a long fucking story. I'll give it to you short and sweet. Me and John spent 90% of the time up there in the studio up until 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning producing that shit with this guy that we hired. I am not going to say his name. You know, this dude sitting over here at the board, and we walked out of there one Wednesday night after a few beers, having fun. As a matter of fact, that's when we recorded Elysium, was after a few beers, and we thought we were done. That's where Elysium came from. You know, we're like, bam, well, fuck, I got one more set of lyrics. And he's like, I could do something. And it's like, all right, hit record. And bam. So then we got done with that, walked out of there. We were happy, patting each other on the back. Bam, goes out, you know, a few months go by, get it back. We get to the release, got mastered. And it's like, the fuck happened? That's not what we fucking sent out. And that's all there is to it. We had no control. When we walked out of the booth that night, we were like, this is solid. This is solid. And it came back like it did.
That really sucks.
Yeah, well, the
board decided he was going to go back and change a few things after we left, and we had no idea.
There was a problem, I know, because I believe John Perez told me about it way back when in the interview. And you guys do mention it on your DVD that you shot. I think it was in Poland you shot that DVD.
Yeah, it was in Poland.
Somebody comes up to the mic and says, it's not that great of a mix, but still a great song. Phantoms that's killer. The whole album's great. It really is.
See, that's just it. I love Phantoms. There's a lot of good stuff on that album. If you can get past the mix, I mean, the material is good. You know, but
it's a shame that it's all marred by a lousy mix, and that they didn't even have the decency to be transparent about it with you guys.
That, you know, took it upon himself to change what me and him basically did. You know, we hire these engineers, but me or John or Mosley are usually the ones sitting at the board pushing knobs, you know.
Right.
And so, you know, we thought we had what we wanted. And anyway, I digress. But it's a great album. It's got some really eclectic material, and I think it fits well right in the middle of our whole discography, because it's just like right there in the middle, like, bam, what the hell?
Yeah, stylistically, it's a little more transformative.
Yeah,
you would say. Yeah. I'll have to give it a listen, because that one I haven't heard either. I've only done
I have to ask the question. I really do. I is there a future for Solitude Aeturnus? Is there a reunion? What? Will there be a reunion?
You're cutting out.
Okay. Solitude Aeturnus. Is there any way? Solitude.
You're breaking up.
Okay. Am I still there?
Wait, I've lost video.
Okay. All right. Sorry. We'll
I'm fucking with you, man.
Oh, God. I'm sitting here like ready to reopen the call. Like, oh no, we're losing him.
That was my roundabout way. That was my roundabout way of answering that question.
Okay, fair enough. Fair enough. Let's move on to the next
let's just say this. I still talk to some people.
Great.
Okay.
You know, and you know, I have to mention this. Like, I've been playing music. I've been playing drums since I was about 15. I've been in countless bands. Nothing, you know, at your level, but I still try to keep at least contact with almost every musician that I've worked with, whether or not we've left on good terms or not. There's always that kind of bond that I feel, you know, jamming with people late at night, writing stuff, you know, there's that bond. And so if it happens again, it happens again. If not, well, we got a bunch of great albums, right?
Well, I'll tell you this. I mean, there is that bond. And if you look the way I see it, I mean, Solitude, us guys, we were like a family. I mean, twice a week, every Tuesday, Thursday, we were at the rehearsal studio without phone calls or nothing. We were all there at 7 o'clock, bam, every Tuesday, Thursday for years and years and years. You're always together. Every weekend, somebody's got a party at their house. Everybody's there all the time. Then you hit the road for 3, 4, 5 weeks at a time. You're living on the tour bus together. I mean, it's like a fucking family. I mean, you know,
Sure.
sometimes you're with your mates more than you are your girlfriend. Where are you going? Rehearsal. Again, you were just there last night. Yeah, well, we got some new material. I'll be back. No, you won't. You'll come in. You'll be back. 1 o'clock
3 in the morning, stumbling in, half cooked. Yeah.
Oh yeah, I've been there.
Me too.
So,
No, we're just gonna go up there for a couple hours. Yeah, right.
yeah, sure. See you tomorrow.
Yeah.
Maybe next week. Well,
Yeah. You see me when you wake up in the morning. Yeah, but that's what I'm saying. It's a brotherhood, man. And I think the entire metal community really kind of reflects that it is a brotherhood, you know. And I see that just from being with the bands I've been with Candlemass and the touring and literally being all over the world. I could be in fucking Slovenia and the guy barely speaks English. I don't know any Slovenian. I do know some English, but you know, it's like there's already a bond, there's a brotherhood, you know, and it's just the metal community is amazing.
Oh, absolutely. And
Yeah.
that's the one thing about the metal, like, you know, especially when you go to a concert, man, no
Yeah.
matter who you know, you're like this, man. It's just, that's how it is. That's, you know.
Yeah, it is. Nobody's standoffish. I mean, you guy next to you, man. Next thing you know, you got your arm around you, banging heads, you're buying each other beers. It's like, fuck yeah, come on, man. Dude, and then next thing you know, it's like, you got that album last week, right? Yeah, I had that 4 months ago. It was fucking day killer. Track 3 was my favorite, you know, and then bam, next thing you know, you got a friend.
Yeah, best friends. That's how it happens. It's
absolutely.
magical.
That's the great thing about, you know, even seeing live music, you know, is like that, especially in the metal community. We're all brothers, because, you know, metal is never going to be the most popular thing, especially doom metal. That's never going to be top of the charts. So when you find someone that loves that kind of thing, it's like you're bonded, man. That's it.
Yeah, I mean, there's already an underlying affiliation without ever knowing this person, whether I'm from Texas and you're from New York or, you know, Utah, and I've never spoke to you. There's like an underlying connection that is just an automatic, you know, thing.
Yeah.
It's just a universal appreciation for great art.
Yeah,
that's severely misunderstood.
I'm not sure how much touring Solitude Aeturnus actually did as far as going around the United States or anywhere else. But when in 2007 you joined Candlemass, that must have been a whole different thing, from going from Solitude Aeturnus, which is a known band, to Candlemass, which was a widely known band, you know, international band. Can you talk a little bit about how that happened?
Well, let's see. I was sitting at my desk job. We had just got finished recording Alone. I think we were in the last stages. I'm talking like the last couple of weeks of recording Alone. Mm-hmm. And you know, I was working in an office at that time, and my girlfriend calls me at work, and she's like, hey man, I just saw online, wherever, that Messiah quit Candlemass again. They're looking for a singer. And I'm like, and what I care? Why are you telling me this? You know, we're still working on Alone. She's like, I think you should do it. Do what? She goes, you know, audition. I was like, I'm like a fucking audition. I've got Solitude. We're recording, you know. She goes, and the last thing she said before she hung up, she goes, I'm gonna send him an email. Now go, you know, basically, and I'm not being pompous or arrogant or an ass. I just basically said, well, go ahead, you know, whatever. Let me get back to it, you know. And I got home that night, and she was just kind of grinning. I'm like, what? She goes, Leif responded. I said, what? I said, she goes, to the email I sent him. I told him that you might want to be their vocalist. I was like, did you really? She goes, yeah. And they want you to do it. I went, but just finished alone. She goes, no, I want you to do it. You should do it. And it was like a week later, I was in the same studio, same setup, same engineer, because we hadn't even really broke down the Solitude stuff yet. And behind the mic, doing a couple tracks for CMAS. And then it was like maybe a month later, back in the same studio, same engineer, and recorded King of the Grey Islands.
Which by far is a fantastic album. I just revisited it for the first time.
I love that album. Yeah.
It's awesome. Yeah. So how did the guys from Solitude respond to that? Were they like upset that you were like double dipping, or?
No, it was a really good thing. Both Candlemass and Solitude have been friends. We actually opened for them in Austin, Texas back in, I don't know, 91, 92. They were blowing through the States. And, JP was friends with Lowe. And it's like, he was like, hey, y'all should come down to Austin, and play, or however that went. And then we got down there and played. And it's on actually one of their DVDs with us playing with Candlemass, sort of. Because we told them, it's like, well, we cover Well of Souls in our set. Do y'all mind if we do it? And they're like, fuck yeah, go ahead, knock it out. And anyway, that's just a little side note there. But no, so it was, we were all thinking, fucking go for it, man. And so it was no big deal. And so
that's awesome.
During the early stages of joining Candlemass, Solitude was still playing shows. So if I was overseas, we just talked to each other and said, don't book a show that weekend. When I come back, we could play a show in Dallas or Fort Worth, and then I'll go back and do something with CMAS. And then, if Candlemass, I mean, Solitude, I think right in the early stages, I think we had a short little mini tour. So I came back and we did that, and then went back to Sweden. So it was very amicable, and it worked well for everybody, I think.
That's amazing. Yeah. That's something that I would imagine is almost unheard of in that facet of a performance career, where like you can effectively do it that way. That's awesome.
And it was, it was kind of cool, I guess, because, Alone and fucking King of the Grey Islands basically came out at the same time.
Yeah.
yeah. Though within a year. So
yeah. I mean, that's close. Considering, when you record, it goes off to get mastered, goes to press. I mean, it takes months. So within a year, both of them come out, and it's like, that's pretty cool. Yeah.
Looking back at it, like any thoughts about your time with Candlemass?
All of it was good. Right now, at this moment in time, the only thing that comes to mind are 500 plane flights, a hotel room every other night, cabs, drivers, shows, back to the hotel, sleep for 2 hours, fly to fucking Copenhagen, Dirk. But I think one of my fondest memories was doing the Sweden Rock Festival. That was killer. But then I turn around and go, well, we did Hellfest the year before. That was fucking killer. And then, turn around and I think about something else. And it's just, to me, the whole experience of just being on stage with these great musicians and really good friends, and getting to spend so many years doing that and doing what we all love. I know, I mean, that's cliche, but it's true.
Well, yeah, no, it's definitely.
To me, every moment was a good moment, even if it was some small club in Finland, or, well, when I say small, it's 700-800 people, but, and then the next night going off and, like I said, doing Hellfest or Metal Heart and Trondheim, and, it was just really, the whole thing was good. Nothing really stands out.
A lot of those festivals in Europe, I really wish would come over to America someday, because
it's not going to happen, No.
Well, especially now, there's no way in hell.
Especially now, yeah. But even then, it was hard to get that together. Coming to the States, you really just had to do a tour, and that was it. Because we don't really, unless you're part of the Ozfest or whatever, we don't even really have festivals like that here.
No, and I went to my my wife drug me to the Mayhem Festival, I think 2 years in a row. And other than seeing Slayer, Amon Amarth, Anthrax, Motorhead, there was nothing there for me, you know.
Yeah. No. That's what I loved about Sweden Rock, man. Yeah, you can see us. Got to see fucking Heaven and Hell. Then you go over to the other stage, watch UFO. Go to this stage, see Journey. Come over here and watch Foreigner, or go over here and see Emperor or somebody in the city.
Oh my God!
Anything you want.
That's amazing.
Yeah, that's the thing I like about those European festivals. Especially the Wacken Festival. I have to get
Wacken. See, forgot about Wacken. Another one of my favorite places to be. Love Wacken, man. Now it's another one that's set up really good to where you can see anything you want, man. It doesn't matter what you listen to. Like I said, you can go from Foreigner to Slayer to I don't know, Cheap Trick. They'll all be there.
Yeah. And that's the truth. That's on
and
my
every
bucket
metalhead there loves every one of those fucking bands.
That's on my bucket list. Absolutely. I do want to get over there someday. It just
mine too.
Nothing now. So
definitely.
But,
we're gonna have to wait at least 5 or 10 years till shit opens up.
It's okay. I'll still go. I mean, kid, you're young, so you have nothing to worry about.
Yeah.
What is your songwriting process like? Because I know you have a hand in almost everything you do. You do a lot of songwriting. You don't just walk in and sing lyrics. I don't think. So what is the process? Where do you pull your lyrical ideas from, and has that process changed over the years?
The lyrical process has never changed. That everything I write lyrically comes strictly from inside of me. If you actually read and decipher my lyrics, you will know me inside and out. So everything's real. There's no Dungeons and Dragons. There's no boots and fairies and everything. It's all
every time you do use like symbolism, it means something. Like where the blue pyramid sleeps means something.
Yeah. Although Lowe wrote that. But
okay, all right, so never mind that.
But exactly. Well, see, here's the thing. A lot of times, not always, but a lot of times, me and Lowe would get together, and I would go, "That's what I'm thinking." And at that time, during that album, I couldn't be bothered. I'm not a singer. I don't want to write lyrics. Go ahead, you do it. And that's honestly what happened. But I would go, you know what? I have an idea, but you go ahead and write it because you are good at lyrics. And so a lot of those things started. And when Lyle started feeling like he didn't want to be part of the band, it's like, I've already got a stack of lyrics. I can step in. And then it went from there. And then I got comfortable, and I wouldn't have it any other way at this time. So yeah, around Downfall is when you started seeing my own personal lyrics. The first 3 albums, first one had nothing to do with me lyrically. That album was already pretty much done from the prior vocalist and them already being together before I joined. Mm-hmm. The second album, Lowe took over from the prior. And then on the third album, we started collaborating. And then on Downfall is when I started putting my own personal lyrics in. And then it started going from there. And then Adagio, I put in more. And then Alone was all my lyrics.
Okay. So everything just comes from in here, whether it's symbolism or something. That's kind of where you pull that from. Okay.
Exactly. Yeah. Symbolism or just, flat out, today sucks, man.
Could write a lot of that lately, I'll tell you that.
Yeah, right?
I think we all can.
Yeah.
Now, have you thought, and I posed this question to you on Facebook a couple months ago. Have you thought about branching out from the doom metal genre? Like a prog metal or a power metal album or a folk metal album? Because when you post music online, sometimes on Facebook, I'll follow you and I'll see like, oh man, this guy's into some stuff I never thought you'd be into. You're just posting this music that you're listening to. You ever thought about just kind of branching outside of doom metal?
Oh yeah. I mean, I would love to do that. And I probably will eventually because, eventually there's going to be a Disciple of Doom project, a DoD project. So that one will be something that I guess you could say I'm going to be 100% control of, kind of like Leif is with Candlemass. The Disciple of Doom project is going to be basically me. And
right.
like I said, without being pompous, I mean, that's the way it's going to be. I'm going to write all the music, not just some guitar parts, write all the music, all the lyrics, and go from there. But the branching out, yeah, I definitely will. I mean, I will post anything from Husker Du to Bad Brains to Fawn, to Dead Can Dance. I would like to bring like all three of those together. I'd like to get some of the Dead Can Dancey stuff in with like some heavier, crunchy Husker Du guitar tones, just get all kind of heavy metal medieval, which I'm sure that's already been done, but
that's okay. You can do it more, like the folk.
Yeah, you can never do that too much.
Yeah, you can never do that.
No. But, well, I would like to do something like that. I would definitely dip my toes in that water.
You hear that? Any folk metal bands out there? You need a new vocalist?
Get yourselves Robert Lowe. It will kick ass, guaranteed.
Yeah, like
you can't go wrong.
Just on the Ailstorm album, the new Ailstorm album or something,
Can you imagine Ailstorm with Rob Lowe? I would shit my pants. Oh my god, that would be amazing.
Okay, let's talk about Tyrant now, because I got to get to Tyrant, because Tyrant Hereafter, what an album that was last year. That dropped in the middle of the quarantine. It was like I was waiting for that. I was like, I need this. It is so good.
We just did the damn thing, and it's like we're ready to go. Me and Greg are already making calls, starting to book shows, and we're getting
big tour planned, and then nothing.
Bam.
Wet blanket over all of it.
What? You don't need that fucking rug. Here, let me pull it out from under you.
I hear you, man. Yeah.
And that really sucked. Anyway, questions with the Tyrant. That was, I'm very pleased with that album too. I mean, that's really, I guess, branching out. I mean, that's definitely something different from, I guess, what I normally do. That's to me, it's a more of a doomy heavy metal.
Yeah. That's how I describe it. There's a lot of like classic heavy metal sound to it. Like the songs I really like on it, like Pieces of Mine, you stretch a little bit. It's a little bit less of the doom that I'm used to. God, was the other one Bucolic? Is that one?
Bucolic, yeah.
Bucolic, yeah. That's a great song. And like the melodies you're using in that are a little bit different than what I normally hear you do, which was like fantastic. And the music itself too is different. Than Solitude or Candlemass. There's some doom elements to it, but it's not just a straightforward doom metal album, which is great.
No.
It kicked my ass.
It wouldn't be. I wouldn't want it to be. I mean, it's Tyrant. Yeah. That's what it's a nice melding of Tyrant and doom, or Tyrant and what I do.
Yeah.
Funny. Well, there's a funny story. We used to get together at my place every weekend for rehearsal when Solitude first started, before we had a rehearsal studio, and we get together a couple hours ahead of time and basically, drink beers, and like, John we'd all bring like our new, look at the album I bought this week, look, check this out, look what I got. We'd play some of the new albums before we started rehearsing. And I remember one time John came in with the very first Tyrant album. He's like, dude, I just got this. We got to check this out, And we're sitting in there fucking jamming. And who would have thought, 20 years later,
how the stars would align.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And how did that come about? How did you get involved with Tyrant?
I basically, I was living in Phoenix at the time, and I don't know, we all know each other. For some reason, just out of the blue, Greg texted me. He's like, "Hey, brother, what's up? Love your work. You busy doing anything right now?" And at the moment, I wasn't doing anything at the time. And so we started talking, and he goes, "Man, I'd love to send you our material, and hoping maybe I could get you to do the vocals for the new album." And I just said, "All right, let's do it."
Yeah, there you go. Simple. And let me tell you, that is one of my favorite albums, if not my favorite album from 2020 was Hereafter. It's an excellent piece of metal.
Thank you.
Very good.
I just hate that it got buried with the COVID bullshit.
Yeah. But the fact that we're still sitting here talking about it a year later is a testament to its power. Despite the pandemic, there's still a huge presence that album brought to the table.
Yeah. It's I'm very pleased with it. Hopefully this coming June, we're supposed to do a festival down in Mexico. So hopefully we can still do that.
Nice.
We've had to cancel a few festivals. We've had to cancel a few shows. We got lucky to do, we did one in New York and a couple out in California. And that's basically all we were able to get to before, you know, promoters were calling saying, you know, they shut us down in Maryland. We can't fucking have any shows.
Yeah, I'm sure those calls just multiplied by the day until everything shut down in March, where it was like, you know, boom, and no shows at all.
With Grief Collector too, because I still had some Tyrant shows, and the Grief Collector started booking stuff. So I was like, man, I got my year booked, you know. So out here for this festival with Grief Collector, we're gonna do this thing here, and then bam and bam and bam. It's just like, you know, sitting out there in the backyard with the can set up. Pop, there goes one. Pop, there goes another. Bam, there goes the last can. I win. Nice shit.
That's, you know, I feel what you're feeling, because, you know, I do one of the most on the weekends, I do a very unmetal thing. I play in a pop cover band, and I play drums for a band called Ostrich Hat. We play fun pop songs that I'm sure your daughters know more than we know. But one by one, those big corporate events and the weddings and stuff that I do, you know,
yeah,
right down the road. I was like, well, I guess I'm just gonna hang out at home.
Yeah. Well, see, that's another thing. You talk about cover bands. I mean, even if I'm not doing anything, I always hook up with somebody, and I always have some cover band thing going on. And one of the reasons I do that is so I can play guitar and sing. And then, you know, so I'm always doing something. But I don't want to play guitar on stage with you know, Tyrant or Grief Collector or CMAS, but, you know, I still want to get out there and play. So, you know, if I start a cover band that's, you know, doing Judas Priest, Scorpions, UFO, stuff like that, that gives me a chance to do songs that I never would do live, but I can do in a cover band setting, you know, and then turn around and do Cheap Trick or Deep Purple or, you know, a Jimi Hendrix. You know, we used to do Manic Depression. Now, who does that? Right. But in that cover band, I could do it. You know, I want to play Manic Depression. That's what we're going to fucking play.
Love it. I would love to hear some of that. You know, that's you putting your stamp on these songs is just, I like the covers that you've done in the past, so I can only imagine they'd be just as good. Like, I told a real quick story to Danton before you got on the call that back in, like, I think it was 1998, I bought the Call to Iron's Iron Maiden compilation album. Just for Solitude Aeturnus' Hallowed Be Thy Name, which is I hated the rest of the album. I didn't really like much of it. A couple Opeth was good, but man, like, that was the one that sold. I bought the whole CD just for that one song, because, you know, it's the only way I could hear it. It was a really good cover, man. You guys did a great cover on that. So,
yeah, okay, we changed a few bits, you know, just like when we did Shame on the Night. You know, we changed a couple of things in there, but when we do covers, you know, we try to keep it true to form and maybe just change a couple things that, you know, a diehard listener will go, whoa, wait, that little part right there, that's not the original. Where maybe if somebody was a casual listener may not catch it. That's, you know, what we like to try to do.
You know, you're honoring the original intent by the original artist, but you're also you're not just doing a carbon copy of something that's already been done. You know, you're putting your own little spin on it, and you're making it uniquely you.
And, you know, we'll keep it that way about 95%, you know, but
yeah,
you know, we're still going to go, that's us doing it.
So, you know,
that's really cool.
We're talking about covers. We're talking about different songs. What have you been listening to lately?
Nothing.
Nothing. No. I'm not even talking new. I mean, just like, what's.
That's what I'm saying. What?
Do you listen to a lot of your own work, like stuff with Solitude Aeturnus or CMAS or anything like that, or do you typically try to listen?
Yeah, I do listen to all of that, and simply because if I was a fan, this is what I would buy. I mean, that's one of the things with what we did at Solitude. We were like, this is what I would want to listen to, and this is what we're going to play because this is what I would want to hear. And if anybody else likes it, you know,
that's a bonus.
Good.
Yeah.
If not, whatever, we're playing what we want. So yeah, I'll pull out the stuff that I've done because I like what we did and I'm pleased with it. I did listen to the Grief Collector the other day, the new one in Delirium.
So good.
Man, I don't know. I was listening to the White Yoakum the other day, man. I listened to Honky Tonk Country.
Yeah.
It just whatever catches me at the time, but honestly, a lot of times I don't things, or I haven't lately to put it. Only when I had a cover band in Phoenix before I moved here. So again, I was listening to a lot of UFO. What were we doing? We were doing Accept. We were doing Princess of Dawn. Just a lot of stuff like that. So I guess I tend to gravitate back to some of the heavier 90s metal stuff. But then I'll turn around and listen to Erasure.
Sure. Yeah, it's got a pretty eclectic taste in music, and I respect that because I have that too. And if you look at my CD collection, it's like there's the Police next to Rammstein, next to
No, exactly. That's my catalog looks like that too. I mean, my catalog looks like a fucking record store, pretty much.
Yeah, that's great.
Yeah.
Absolutely, and that's good. Yeah, that's good that you can be, because when you write and you create, you could just take from everywhere too. Like you mentioned,
if
you pigeonhole yourself, then you can't really be creative, because if you just do this all day long, you're not going to see what's over there or over. Now I'm being philosophical, but you're not going to see other shit if you just focus down a fucking narrow path and you're just looking straight ahead. As a musician, listening to everything under the sun, I may not go out and do a country cover band, but I may find a lick that this dude did, and I'm like, son of a bitch, that was cool. That I may have never heard before.
We do that on the bottom string with a shit ton more distortion. There's a new riff for a Doom song.
Yeah,
and slow it down.
And seriously, man. Seriously,
I think exactly the same way. I totally get it.
We were actually tossing around the idea, me and Mosley, of doing a heavier cover of Billy Squires In the Dark.
Oh,
that would be amazing.
Nobody else can do that now, because I'm still going to do it. But listen to that song.
You heard that, world. Rob Lowe calls dibs.
I call dibs on.
You do it before he does. He's coming for you.
Yeah.
I can hear that. I can hear that being really cool.
I was just something, that's what I'm saying. We just sit around and throw shit out there, because all of us, or all of my musical buddies from the band, we all listen to everything. We will sit around and call and go, dude, what if we did something from Sonny and Cher? I Got You, Babe. You know what? That would be cool. Just whatever.
Yeah, why not?
A minor key, and
yeah.
Just having such a broad scope to pull from, you don't limit yourself. You may go, dude, are you a fucking idiot? Why the hell would we do that? Or you just go, you know what? That could be done.
Yeah.
That's usually what happens with me. You don't really want to present an ideal to me, because I'll go, you know what? Fuck it, let's do it.
You'll say yes. I love it.
I like that attitude a lot.
That is the best.
Yeah, I love that attitude. Well, I do want to mention something that is out in left field as far as like stylistically, is Lyle Blackburn's band Ghoultown.
Yeah.
Now we're talking not a left field like that. I knew he left the band before Downfall, I believe, or somewhere around there. And then Ghoultown pops up.
Yeah, it was right after Downfall.
Yeah, I was like, wow, what the hell is this? I actually love it. I absolutely love it. I just wanted to get your take on if you heard any of the stuff and what do you think?
Oh no, I love what he does. I knew he was into that for 100 years, because we were friends, buddies, lived down the street from each other. It was that type of situation with all of us in Solitude. We all basically lived in Arlington, Texas. So if Mosley or JP said something, we were 2 or 3 blocks away from each other, right? So I knew where he was going, and that rockabilly, gothabilly type is cool, because he's totally in, to the monsters and everything else. I mean, that's his thing. So
that's
he took that into the kind of rockabilly, but gothabilly, and it's cool. I've gone out, and seen him a couple of times, especially when I was in town. If he's playing, I go.
Sure.
And
I
he's
actually
got a huge following too, man.
yeah.
You know, I'm happy for him.
Yeah, and he's an author now. He writes cryptozoology books and stuff.
Oh yeah,
I know
he's got that whole thing.
Yeah. The reason why I know a lot about him too is because back here in Pennsylvania, I work in television. I host a travel show called Off the Beaten Path, which is all about like weird things in Pennsylvania. I was trying to get him on just to interview him about cryptozoology and stuff last year for the Halloween thing. And that's when I started really looking into what he did. But I knew about Ghoultown for years, and I love the albums. Ghost of the Southern Sun is for 2017 is one of my favorite albums of that year. It's such a really neat like melding, like you said, of styles, and that's what reminded me of it when you were talking about that. Was there's one of your childhood friends that went off and did this thing that's way out in left field. And it's cool. It works.
See,
it's neat.
And that goes back to what I was saying. If he was closed-minded about music and what he listened to, he would have never come up with that, man.
Yeah,
right.
it would have never happened. There's no way.
No. If you weren't diverse in what you listen to, you see, that's just it. You're going to miss something, man.
Yeah.
Now let's talk about the state of metal right now. Metal music right now compared to like back in even the 90s when Solitude Aeturnus was making a lot of noise in the underground in the 90s when alt rock was the big thing, but it's different now than it was then. Like where are we going with this? Where is metal gonna go? Do you really think we're not ever gonna capture anything like we even had in the 90s compared to now?
I don't know. That's hard to say. It's kind of like, with doing Grief Collector, we're carrying the torch. And then again, Brad and Matt, we all listen to so many things, but there's just that vein, that vibe of, Candlemass, Solitude, Tyrant, Grief Collector, that kind of just keeps it going while there's all this other shit just kind of floating around it, And honestly, I don't listen to a lot of shit right now. I just don't. I mean, nothing really grabs my attention.
Mm-hmm. I had to search. I have to search hard for something new that really gets me like it did back in the day. And, searching for music now is a lot easier, which kind of takes the fun out of it sometimes. If you think back to before, you could just go onto the internet and type up whatever you wanted. You had to talk to people and you had to search out these albums. Like I said, when I heard, just by chance, I heard Solitude Aeturnus Black Castle on a CD that came to the radio station. I wasn't even supposed to have it,
Yeah, no. It's not the same, especially going to music or even, to record stores and stuff. Because there again, depending on what record store you go to, there's some dude in there flipping through the albums or whatever. And y'all start talking, and then he tells you about such and such, and you tell him about such and such, and then they go to their buddy and they go, dude, I met this dude at fucking Bunghole Records, and he was telling me about this band, and it's like, so I bought it. You take a chance and you talk to your buddy, and you take a chance and you go, fuck, that's killer, man. And you would have never found it if you weren't physically outside talking to somebody.
Yeah.
That was the day. There were the days you really didn't get to do that dancing that much, did you?
Well, actually, no. Funny enough, I did, because despite being a good deal younger than you guys, I was pretty old-fashioned. Even like all through like my high school and college years, it was like go to a CD store and like have friends tell me about specific things to look at, and just kind of having that sort of perspective. Where even though like it's so easy now, you just go on Spotify and you could just shuffle through like 20 different bands that you've never heard of before that sound kind of like something you're super into. That whole idea of doing that has never really attracted me a whole lot. I kind of like having a little bit of that advanced preparation of like, all right, I'm going to actively seek out listening to this band because a friend told me to, or because of a recommendation from somebody, or because I've just heard of this band a lot because they're so commonly associated with something that I do like. So let me kind of just make that jump and check them out. And then, and 9 times out of 10, it's something like with checking out some of Rob's stuff where it's like, oh shit, why didn't I listen to this before? I really like this. This is really cool. And then that goes into like, oh, what else is there? And then you find things like the Grief Collector.
Oh, yeah.
You know, and
man.
like for me, it's always kind of actively searching out, even though it's so easy now to just like shuffle around and do whatever and just find new things all the time. I very seldom do that. Like I'm usually really deliberate about my new music consumption. And I'm still that way. I'll be that way forever, even as technology continues to improve. But that's just me. I'm old hat.
Well, what is your plans? Is there any new projects in the works? What's your plans for the next few years? Hopefully we'll get this damn quarantine thing done with or whatever. And what are we expecting from you in the next couple of years?
We're still looking at shows right now between Grief Collector and Tyrant. Like I said, June, hopefully we get to Mexico. Next year, I think the Maryland Doom Fest, which we were supposed to do and didn't do because of things.
Is that rescheduled? The Maryland Doom Fest?
As far as I know. I mean, last time I heard, it got bumped. So, you know, I'm hoping it still happens.
Yeah, me too, because I'll go.
Yeah, so within the next year, I'm hoping all these shows that we were supposed to do that are supposed to happen again next year, which
just get
isn't
delayed.
That long isn't too far away.
No.
You know, hopefully they'll happen and I'll be able to do that. And like I said, eventually I plan on doing the Disciple of Doom project. And, you know, I haven't really, I've got ideas, I've got some music written down and stuff, but, you know, because of Tyrant and Grief Collector, I really have put it on the back burner because,
sure,
you know, I just.
That's your main focus right now?
Yeah. No, it will be.
Yeah. Well, your main focus is to Tyrant and Grief Collector right now, right?
Oh, definitely. 100%. 100%. That's why my Disciple of Doom it's on the back burner. It's back there simmering, but I'm really hoping to get a chance to get out there and promote Tyrant hereafter, because it's a great fucking album. It doesn't need to get swept under the rug 2, 3, 4 years from now. You know, the first Grief Collector demo, the 5-song EP, along with the new album we just put out. You know, I want to get out there and play that shit live for people, because these are really good musicians. The albums are extremely well recorded, and it's just a solid piece of work that needs to be seen and heard.
Yeah,
and that's not just because,
couldn't agree more.
That's not just because I'm part of it. It's partly because I'm part of it, because I've seen what's gone into it. And, you know, but just because if I was an outsider, it's like, this is some good, again, this is what I would buy. It's what I would listen to, you know, right. And I would hate for that not to be seen or put out there.
Yeah, well, hopefully Hereafter is defined in the history books as the album that defied COVID. You know, that wasn't shut down by the pandemic, that still managed to get to the surface in the metal community, and is hopefully going to be celebrated for many years to come. Do you have any other future albums planned with Tyrant?
Well, at the moment, we really haven't talked. I mean, I guess this whole COVID thing, it just kind of got, you know, I mean, there's a lot of musicians that are out there proactive and doing stuff and doing online stuff, but, you know, it really does kind of zap your energy, and, you know, it's hard to get worked up, and it's like, man, I got some material. It's like, yeah, but what are we going to do with it? You know? Yeah.
If you can't go out and play it, what's the point?
Yeah.
For a lot of musicians.
I mean, yeah, right. Because that's what I'm all about. I don't like to do too many special effects on the albums, because I want to be able to reproduce live what we did in the studio. I mean, obviously you want some of the flavorings for the recorded material, because correct. You know, you want that, you need the good stuff, but then I also want that to be able to translate well into a live performance too. You know, when we were recording the Hereafter and In Delirium, you know, we're texting every day, and you know, Greg is sending me a file, and you know, we're talking about it back and forth, and right now I'd be like, he'd send me a file, but it, you know, I guess I'm being a pessimist. It's like, what are we going to do with it? You know, I'm one of those kind of guys that when I'm ready to do it, let's do it, and let's go, and bam, bam, bam. And then I may sit silent for, you know, 10 years and then record alone. I don't know. That was a joke.
I love it.
Well, I do wish you the best of luck for whatever you do. And I want to say thank you very much for coming on with us and sharing some time with us on Friday night. Well, he said there's not much to do because of the COVID stuff, other than talk. So we'd love to have you on again. We could talk about whatever you want. You want to do some album reviews with us sometime? Whatever. You've been a great guest, Robert. Thank you very much. And you were actually our first, I'd say, musician of note to be on our podcast. So
this is huge for us. This is such a big deal for us. Like really getting the face of a genre.
Thank you. Well, I appreciate that. I really do.
I do a TV show, a travel show, and I also do a show called Wine, Hops, and Road Stops, which is all about wine, beer, and good food. Yeah. Parts of my job is it's pretty fun. If you don't mind,
I can get into that.
if you don't mind, it's answering a beer related question or a drink related question. As the voice of doom metal, Mr. Robert Lowe, Solitude Aeturnus, Candlemass, Grief Collector, Tyrant, a bunch of other things. What is your favorite beer or drink to have?
Well, my favorite shit. I think I've recorded half of my albums with Natty Ice.
Fair enough.
That is the last thing I would have expected to hear.
I like my Natty Ice. People give me grief, but I like my vodka. I will have a good glass of red wine. I couldn't give you a name as long as it's in a glass. It's good.
Well, you're simple taste. That's fine. I mean, I'm a craft beer lover, so I drink all these crazy IPAs, double IPA, stouts, and whatever. But
I really couldn't name off anything because, like you said, been all over the world. But typically, we get what they give us backstage, and
that can be whatever. Sometimes, I'm sure.
Yeah,
it's stuff you don't even know what the hell it is.
I don't know. I have no idea.
So Natty Ice, the voice of doom.
Natty Ice and red wine. That's what you have, ladies and gentlemen.
That would be the truth. I mean, when I was doing the Grief Collector, Matt was like, "Well, when you get up here, I've already got a couple of coolers full of Natty Ice ready to go."
That's
That's
how you know you have a good friend when they know your tastes and they cater to them.
See, I'm drinking. I can see if Steve can see it. Voodoo Ranger. This is Juicy Hazy IPA. This is probably I don't know, $20 a 6-pack. That's what I was drinking tonight.
Yeah, if you want, I tell you what, if you want to talk beers, you should talk to Brad from Grief Collector, because every other day he's at whatever brew house and he's posting a picture of this stout vanilla chocolate raspberry toenail special. What the hell?
I'm down with. I'm down.
Yeah, let's get him.
You need to talk to Brad about beers, because if you want to know, somebody knows craft beers, I'm serious. Every day he's sending me a picture. Dude, you got to try this. It's double chocolate peanut butter marshmallow. It's the best.
I think I like Brad a lot already.
Yeah.
Well,
don't drink and drive.
No.
Correct.
Thank you very much, Robert, for hanging out with us. Rock Talk with DocRocker. As anyone's watching this, please like and subscribe to our YouTube channel. Of course, join the Rock Talk with DocRocker Facebook group. There's a lot of people talking about a lot of great music, especially Doom right now. We're going to be talking a lot about Doom for a while now.
I think there's some stuff out there in my category that you might be able to find. That there's one or two albums anyway.
Yeah, maybe just one or two if you're lucky, right? Yeah. So that's the other thing, folks. Go listen to all of these bands that we're talking about that feature Rob, because if you're any inkling of a metalhead at all, there's something in it for you. So check out Solitude Aeturnus, check out Candlemass, check out Tyrant, especially Tyrant with that 2020 album Hereafter. So
good album.
Give it a listen.
It's solid. It's definitely solid.
Follow Rob for all his content as well, and we'll see you guys in the next video.